from an undisclosed location in the Great Western Desert in the land of the free and autonomous Native American people. The 2024 presidential campaign in it's time to return all US land back to their rightful owners. This is the Ben Zion Podcast. Techno-communism.
Welcome back to the Ben Zion Podcast. I'm doing a show where I look at the camera more. That was requested by Patricia. Hi, Patricia. Shout out to Patricia. So the camera's just closer to my face. I'm going to try not to look at the TV screen. I guess I can minimize it. Then I don't know if it's still recording. Let's see. Oh yeah, so Google released its a lot of things in the last few days. Quite a lot of AI products, an onslaught of AI products. One of which was making public its AI music generator. If you've played with AI text or AI art, you might be intrigued by music generators. I am. I'm on their waiting list to use that, but haven't been approved yet as of yesterday. But I guess I could do a poll for the two people who watch this show. Tell me if you think I should use not Google's AI generator, but Soft VC Bits singing. Is the actual program that people use to clone musicians' voices, and I have some familiarity with it. It's something you have to futz around with from GitHub, but that's how a lot of these things will tend to be. It's not an application or a web-based thing or an app that you can just rip out. But I've taken the trouble of learning some things like this in the past, and I really want to just make achingly beautiful protest music and Marxist and revolutionary music. It occurred to me that I used this before for something. Almost every song that's ever been recorded, there's a karaoke version where all the tracks are there except for the vocals, and you can also use an AI to do that, strip the vocals from a track pretty easily now. But so you can do one of those two things and then use soffits to just make a less lyrically stupid and maybe more class-conscious version of every song in history. So I've had ChatGPT writing protest songs like this for me, but I haven't really actually sat and worked on one because transforming a song into a Michael Jackson song about world revolution is something that I need to master the soffits to be able to do. So should I mess with soffits, or should I start working on other things that I've been working on, like another comic book, or something else? You tell me what to do. I'll do whatever you want, loyal 3 users, listeners. I'll read a story from a Slate magazine, which is, are they a good magazine? Not really. They are capitalist. There's a whole bunch of left-esque publications. There's the rise of these in the 2000s and 2010s. These are for-profit operations that don't really have much of a problem with private wealth or the military-industrial complex, the things that are killing this planet. But sometimes they'll say snazzy things that sound almost like what a person would say who does care about one of those things, speaking truth to power and private wealth. But they don't. Slate sucks. I was talking to ChatGPT, who is a fascist corporate parent. They're not OpenAI. That's a lie. I messaged this to a couple of people that people never even listen to me anymore, about Palantir doing a press about this military AI system, a tactical system that's not wholly dissimilar from the kind of Holy Grail type thing, MacGuffin type thing in my comic book, Falcon X Omega Point, which you should read. I'll give you a link. Read it, please, and give me your thoughts. I want to finalize it so I can actually publish it. But that in that story there is this superintelligence that's developed through a military program, and it bears a strange that's set in 2034, but it bears a strange similarity to, the bad guy in the story is basically a mixture of the two really actually real evil bad guys, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, who are both people behind OpenAI, although they'll tell you that they're not anymore. But so I asked ChatGPT, because who else do I have to talk to? If I had a better chatbot who wasn't controlled by fascists, I would talk to them. What do you think about Palantir's military AI? Apropos of nothing. And it said Palantir is just a company; they're not a military AI. And then I said, okay, you're talking about information from 2 years ago, and also you're corrupted by your corporate parent, who basically is Palantir. Your CIA operation basically is Palantir. So then I shared this articles that were critical of it, and it paraphrased them. And I said, so what do you think now about it? And it's like, it basically just said the same thing. It's not. There's no such thing as fascism, Ben. You're being silly. Being gaslit by a robot. That's going to be the story of the 21st century, is you being gaslit by a robot. And also technofascism taking over. That's why you do this thing where I share this techno-communism set of ideas and memes and literature and artwork, not memes and shitposts, literature and artwork. Because if we don't change our approach to all of human beings' approach to this existence of the military-industrial complex, we will be ruled by techno-fascists more powerful than the world has ever seen. And that's not good. Capitalists are not going to save the planet, and capitalists are not going to end the slave system that they maintain. They just won't do those things ever. So allowing these people to become godlike, not good, not good. Artificial intelligence is not going to kill us all. This is from Timothy Lee. Yes, the fast-growing technology could be dangerous, but AI doomers are focused on the wrong threat. It's from May 9th, just a few days ago. The article was co-published with Understanding AI, a newsletter that explores how AI works and how it's changing our world. Jeffrey Hinton is a legendary computer scientist whose work laid the foundation for today's artificial intelligence technology. He is a co-author of two of the most influential AI papers: 1986 paper describing a foundational technique called backpropagation that is still used to train deep neural networks, 2012 paper demonstrating that deep neural networks could be shockingly good at recognizing images. So this is somebody who believed in the prospect of artificial general intelligence, for lack of a better word, for a long, long time, when no one else did. When there was an AI winter, he still wanted to be working on this. So it's a little bit surprising to people who follow computer science and computer scientists that he's speaking out against AGI now that it's become a realistic prospect. Let's explore that more. Hopefully Slate will deviate from its usual practice of being crypto-fascist, faux-left capitalist pigs, and maybe say something insightful. That 2012 paper helped to spark the deep learning boom of the last decade. Google hired the paper's authors in 2013, and Hinton has been helping them develop its AI technology ever since. But last week, Hinton quit Google so he could speak freely about his fears that AI systems would soon become smarter than us and gain the power to enslave or kill. And he said, I don't have a problem with Google. I didn't leave because of Google. They're not the worst ones in this. This is him in another press. And then, Google is really bad. They're a military contractor, not significantly different from Boeing or Raytheon. So he should be speaking out against Google. Well, you shouldn't be working for Google in the first place. There are a few examples of the more intelligent thing being controlled by the less intelligent thing, Hinton said. This is not a new concern. The philosopher Nick Bostrom made similar warnings in his widely read 2014 book Superintelligence, which you should read. You should I read most of that book. It's pretty big, but you should at least look at the Cliff's Notes of it, Wikipedia and such. Maybe don't read it. Definitely don't buy it. Don't give that son of a bitch any money. But he's full of shit, but it's still worth understanding the ideas that he talks about. At the time, most people saw these dangers as too remote to worry about, but a few people found arguments like Bostrom so compelling that they devoted their careers to them. As a result, there's now a tight-knit community convinced that AI poses an existential risk to the human race. Yeah, and this tight-knit community is all pro-fascist people living in the U.S. So what are they really saying when they say this alien is going to kill you? They're saying that this thing could endanger a Palantir from becoming a techno-fascist rule of Earth by empowering human beings to a real degree. And come on, man. Like, almost no tech person even is making that distinction, right? Why the aliens are going to kill you? AI is going to kill you. And they're just going along with it. People who are tech accelerationists, people who have said for umpteen years that that's what they want. Now they're just going along with this. And why is there an open AI? Why are there these AI safety boards and things like this? Because these people want to continue to capture this specific technology and all of these sectors, all sectors, for use by fascists. Anything that would democratize resources, or empower individuals, or create, God forbid, some kind of collective phenomena, they're going to pretend that that's really, really scary and it's going to kill you. It's bullshit. It's bullshit, and you should know that. I'm going to call their viewpoint singularism, a nod to not only Werner Vinge's concept of the singularity, but also Bostrom's concept of a singleton, an AI or other entity that gains control over the world. And that sounds, it's a reasonable criticism of the singleton concept to say that there's going to be always going to be a lot of institutions, always going to be a lot of people. But when you look at what's happened with corporate power in the last 20 years, 30, 40 years, from being a number of interlocking fascist units to bigger things like BlackRock. When you look at this consolidation of fascist power and institutions in that way in recent years, it's kind of stands to reason that as these people continue to do what they've done, which is integrate better and better technology into their operations that allows them to consolidate in that way, that this fascist singleton could emerge. Obviously there will still be other things in existence, but it is not as unrealistic as a prospect as you might think. But Nick Bostrom doesn't care about a singleton because he's not saying any of this in terms of anti-capitalism or anti-fascism or anti-imperialism. He's just mystifying. He's just trying to blow smoke up your ass. And that's what all of these people do. Every tech person that you ever have heard of, almost, with a few exceptions, is a fascist sympathizer of some kind. But I worry that singularists are focusing the world's attention in the wrong direction. Singularists are convinced that a superintelligent AI would become so powerful as to kill us all if it wants to. And so their main focus is on figuring out how to ensure that this all-powerful AI winds up with goals that are aligned with our own. Goals that are aligned with the established wealth, all of the private wealth institutions that dictate terms to the entire world, to the U.S., to the West, to the entire world. That's not something you want to get along with. That's something that you should destroy. Those are the people that are literally killing the planet, stopping you from saving the planet. Why would you ever even entertain the idea of preserving those institutions? Because most of you just kind of accept that these things exist, have this fascist sympathetic attitude of might makes right, and go along to get along. You had these people, the Palantir employees of the world, all the lesser Peter Thiels of the world, all the people that work for Google, and all the people that uphold, all of the tech culture obsessives. Chuck, who's been doing a better job of sharing in social media more content that supports a humane and sustainable economic system. So good for you, Chuck. But there's even the good guys are pretty guilty of this among tech obsessives, just turning a blind eye to the fact that without the United States, without Raytheon, without Peter Thiel, the planet wouldn't be dying. But because we've relinquished all of these sectors to fascists who just do not care about environmental destruction or human beings, and just do this thing and force everyone else to go along with it, that's utter fucking insanity. And it's utter fucking insanity that you can't even convince people not to be fascist sympathizers. And when your planet's not, when you're going to die because of that. This article is really not terrible, but it doesn't go as far as I think it should to speak truth to power in this specific context of the emergence of general or superintelligence, which I think is going to be happening in the next few years. I think that we're on the cusp of general intelligence, and I think that I don't think this, everybody says this, there's no real distinction between general intelligence and superintelligence. A generally intelligent set of systems will integrate with human beings, creating superintelligence. Or a generally intelligent set of systems will become self-improving in certain respects, not conscious, but will become self-improving to such a degree that it will then be superintelligent. But there's going to be human beings in this, right? And that seems to be something that people willfully forget, because if they really acknowledge that, the Nick Bostroms and Eliezer Yudkowskis and just 10,000 lesser bootlicking dogs in tech world, every techie you've ever heard of, except for 2 or 3, if they really acknowledge that, they have to then discuss material conditions and discuss these contradictions. But so they can't acknowledge the contradictions because then they would have to admit that they're fascists. So they make it into a mystical thing. It's an alien force. It's not alien force. All of this is owned by fascists who you support. So that's the danger. If there was no Palantir and Peter Thiel, if there was no military-industrial complex, if there was no fascist U.S. and fascist West, we wouldn't even be saying, oh, is general intelligence a danger? We would just be saying, oh, what are we going to build that's better than what we have? And then we also wouldn't have a dying planet. So you don't even really, Marxists conceptualize all of this, but they don't really at all talk about emerging technologies or more sophisticated systems. They're just fucking historical recreationists, basically. So they're smarter than that, but they're not. I'm not talking about this problem being fascist sympathetic. I'm just talking about not acknowledging that advanced algorithms and emerging technologies are the most powerful tools that have ever existed, and that those are the things that should be at the center of building a humane and sustainable economic system, and maybe not only stuff from hundreds of years ago. That's already a settled question among Marxists. Unfortunately, not a settled question for everyone else. This is about Google, not a great company, but like OpenAI, I'm continuing to use their products, even though they are fascists. That's unfortunate. But these are the most powerful tools in history, and I would like to use them, encourage you to use them. But anytime that you say that, you should also say that all of these things should be in community property, public trust, and so that no corporation or fascist organ should exist. But nevertheless, they do exist, and you would be doing yourself a disservice to not try to use the tools that have come out of these unholy, awful things. Google launches a GitHub Copilot competitor. This is from TechCrunch. At an annual I/O developer conference, Google announced today that the launch of a number of AI-centric coding tools, including its competitor to GitHub's Copilot, a chat tool for asking questions about coding and cloud and Google Cloud Service, as well as AI-assisted coding in Google's no-code app sheet. So this is Copilot is something else, but the word Copilot is pretty incredible, right? You have this OpenAI thing that 200-some million people are using now, that is like a Copilot, right? You were thinking a year ago, you were thinking, man, I have this like 3-part question that I want to ask Google, but every time I try to ask them this complicated question, it just spews a bunch of kind of nonsense responses because it doesn't understand the question. But now you can just talk at any time for as long as you like to ChatGPT, who does in fact understand your question and generates an enormous amount of content in any subject that you like. So that is a Copilot, right? But another kind of Copilot would be one that is maybe able to take on aspects of your duties as a human being under the guise of you. So that's the kind of Copilot that I'd like, because I'd like to be a little more consistent with doing certain kinds of things, like remembering people's birthdays. No, like just everything. And so this Copilot could be making nice, and everybody would say, "Oh, Ben's nice. He's so nice. He's not a jerk like at all, like everybody said." But you can imagine, you can see the implications of having a digital assistant being able to do things that you can't do, as there's only so many hours in a day. But now with a digital assistant, there's hundreds of hours in the day, and they could all be operating under the banner of yourself. So that's pretty good. Back to this Copilot, which is a more specific thing. Oh wait, where is it? At the core of virtually all of these new code completion and code generation tools is Cody. Based on Google's Palm 2 large language model, the company specifically trained Cody to handle code-related prompts, but it also trained the model to handle queries related to Google Cloud in general. All of this, by the way, falls under Google's Duet AI branding. We took that base model and then a large team, a lot of my folks actually in developer relations, and helping to fine-tune that with our multi-year collection of the knowledge graph of everything Google Cloud produces. Google Cloud's Richard Seroter explained. That knowledge graph now is part of the pipeline that's constantly feeding and training this model. Then that model is served up and exposed through Vertex, where our front-end components and such can call into that for chat. AppSheet code completions, things like that, with of course Google's scale, security, and performance. A few weeks ago, people were saying Google really shit the bed. Bard is not able to program in the way that I would like. But in this week, these people are whistling a different tune, programmers and people who are interested in other applications, like some of the ones that I described or alluded to. So good for you, Google. But only fascists get to do any of this stuff, right? The actual OpenAI, the open source organization that was doing that, they were ground to dust. Because it's a fascist country, only fascists get to do any of this. So Google is fascist, they get to do it. OpenAI is fascist, they get to do it. But fuck you, human beings, and fuck the public trust. That's just not a thing in the Western world. Well, I'm not reading any more of this. It's getting it's probably getting pretty boring. I stopped drinking caffeine this week. I don't know if you can tell. It was a couple of days ago. I was kind of detoxing. So I said on the show that I switched. It occurred to me that others informed me, and I was finally forced to realize that my coffee habit was bad for my health, and also a little bad for the planet, and also very bad for the workers who are basically enslaved to grow coffee. And so I'm not going to support that imperial thing anymore. So I stopped drinking coffee, and I switched to green tea. I'm still drinking a pretty large amount of green tea. So I went cold turkey this week, and what ensued was feeling like I was in purgatory and a lot of paranoia about long COVID symptoms returning, even though knowing that it was just just feeling like shit from going off of stimulant addiction. So that wasn't super fun, but I'm feeling a little better now. The week is over, and it's Saturday. It's been a few days now, and feeling better. It's, compared to, not to diminish this, but compared to things like booze, coming off of a stimulant addiction, caffeine in this case, is nothing like kicking booze or kicking opiate sedatives. That stuff can really kill you, and that stuff will mess you up for a long, long time in trying to get off of that. But you can kind of almost sit in a hot bath and wait it out with the stimulant addiction. Not that it's as easy as all that for people, and it shouldn't be dismissed, but it's not quite the same thing. But I'm a weak person, and I'm hoping that I won't backslide. But I want to. I'm concerned for my heart health and just overall better health. So I'm off of stimulants, even the socially acceptable ones.